Hello, I'm Rick Bjella, the Artistic Director of the San Antonio Chamber Choir, and I'm so pleased to introduce all of you to two incredible people, composer Kyle Pederson and poet Brian Newhouse. Brian, can you start with just telling us a little bit of your background? I think I would love to have the entire San Antonio audience get to know you, both of it a little bit, before we talk about the particular piece.
Well, I credit my parents for not asking me as a college freshman, what are you going to do with a music and an English degree? To their enormous credit, they didn't ask that because I would have asked that. But the answer is really leads us to today. I got a music degree, very active singing career, while I also pursued a very joyful career in radio for a long time, but have always been writing at the same time, creative writing. And so about a decade ago, I just thought, could I ever write for musicians? Could I ever write for composers? And so that has been just a new door that's opened up, and it's led me to wonderful collaborations with composers all across the country. And one of my favorites is on screen right now, Kyle Pederson. The way he writes, it's kind of a dream to write for somebody like that who gets what you're trying to say as a writer and then amplifies it, usually 10 times beyond what I had imagined. So that's been my path towards this particular project and this collaboration with Kyle, which is just a wonderful, wonderful thing in my life.
Well, and you've also worked with Jocelyn Hagan, I saw, and some other ones as well that
Yeah,
don't come
yeah.
to.
Yeah, there's the list is about 12, 13, 14 long at this
Oh,
point.
great.
And that's kind of a nice number, but way beyond the number for me is like, what is the quality of the thing we create?
Yeah.
And again, as I mentioned, Kyle always surprises me and moves me with what he's done there. So it's more about the individual collaborator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle, can you give us a little bit of your background as well?
Yeah, happy to. I was a teacher for 10 or so years. I taught junior high geography out of college. So I did that in my 20s. And then in my 30s, I had the opportunity to teach teachers. So a colleague and I created a business teaching teachers. It was a continuing education business, and I left the classroom to then run that business full time. I did that in my 30s, into my early 30s, and then all the while playing music, accompanying choirs, my church choir primarily, doing some piano projects. And then tender age of, I don't know, 42, 43, I thought, I wonder if I could write a choral piece. And so I wrote my first arrangement of a hymn for choirs in my early 40s, and it was not all that good, but I loved the process. Loved bringing that music to life, working with real people in real time to then make it better. And I knew right then, as part of that process, that this is really what I wanted to do. So I sold my half of the company, went back to school, got a degree in music composition, and have been freelancing and still working part time at the church as well for like the last 8 to 9 years or so.
Yeah. Well, you both had incredible success. And most recently, I think it was 2020, the Genesis Prize given by ACDA was awarded amongst 65 incredible applicants. I think the two of you won one of two prizes for that award. Can you tell us a little bit about that? A very unusual process.
I got excited about this idea of a collaboration from the get-go. I think Genesis wanted to award, and this was in the middle of the pandemic, they wanted to encourage music making, support uh, authors, text writers, and composers who would then collaborate to bring something new into the world. And so it was going to be a joint project with a proposal of like, here's kind of what we envision. Here's a little bit about maybe what the text might be. Here's a little bit about what I'd like to create musically. And so we put that proposal together with both of our names attached, and And so the music had not yet been created. It was essentially a proposal to create something new, and we just hoped it would resonate, and it did. Hooray!
Yeah, yeah. It's an incredible award. We are most pleased to have you with us for our upcoming concert called The Sacred Veil, which is the featured piece, of course, is Whitaker's mammoth and powerful work, A Sacred Veil. But the piece that we're presenting is very unusual, and I've asked Kyle and Brian to do a piece that has to act as a soothing coda to this very powerful and moving piece by Eric Whitaker. And Brian, I first got this piece in December from Kyle, and the first thing I did was read the poem, and I was so moved, I was moved to tears by the poem. And I've asked Brian if you would please read that poem of You Are Here.
Yeah, happy to. I'll just start at the beginning. Shadows long for light, and silence craves music. The willow waits for rain as this heart looks for you. You are gone, you are home, you are here. You are treasure, you are tears at evening, at dawn. You, the laughter I look for as I dream to move on. You are gone, you are home, you're here. There are halls above where stars are born, reborn and born again. By faith, by love, by God, I know this is not the end. Roots brave the dark in spring, so beauty will rise in the rose's veins. Buds burst into blossom, and I hear your voice. I breathe your name. You are home, you are here, always here in this heart.
So I'm always interested in the process. So Kyle, you get this unbelievable poem. Where do you start? Where does your mind start to evolve from this poem to present us with it? The more I live with this piece, the more it feels like I've always known the piece.
Good.
It's
Good.
always been in my repertoire. Like so,
Awesome.
you have a way of bringing that to life like no
Thank
other.
you. Brian, thank you for reading that poem. That's the first time I've heard Brian read the poem as well. It's really a gift to hear the poet read something of their work, so you hear all the inflection and the meaning that sort of goes behind simply the words. So that was exciting for me. So thank you, Brian. So Brian and I have a pretty interesting, I think, and maybe unique process where in our previous collaborations and in this one as well, Brian will present all sorts of different ideas in different stages of development. And so for this one, I know that we had talked early on, and he had talked about maybe not maybe shorter phrases to sort of give the listener and the reader the ability for them for their own minds to sort of paint a picture as well. And he said, here are some phrases, and I think there may be 2 or 3 pages that Brian had forwarded. And he said, do any of these resonate especially with you? And I remember reading all sorts of phrases, most of which did not make the final cut into the final poem, and just being moved as well by all sorts of them, but especially by a few. In particular, this idea of you are gone, you are home, you are here. I just thought that was, it captured so beautifully this sense of, in just 3 short phrases, this sort of honoring the devastation that is present with the sacred veil, the loss and the grief. You are gone, you are home, which mirrors the very last words in that work, welcome home, welcoming the person who has passed on into a new home. And then Brian simply moved that to you are here. And then at the end, always here in this heart. So absolutely beautiful. And I thought this has to be, this is kind of the crux of it for me anyway. And in subsequent drafts that Brian gave to me, I he continued to include that. And very quickly I went to the piano and just sort of noodled on what that little refrain could be, since that was the heart of the piece. And just sat down at the piano and trial and error, like, what does this feel like? What does it sound like? What are some chords and some harmonies that might fit under that? What is the melodic riff what does that want to do? And fairly quickly, the riff that you find in the piece now sort of emerged, presented itself. And I thought, this is probably it. I don't know if I could create something that would better capture these particular 3 lines that Brian had crafted so elegantly and so simply.
Yeah, I'm so taken with what you said, because when you said "you are gone," the way you spoke it, Brian, and the way Kyle said it, with a little bit of a Gagic time before you say that last word, was so such a synthesis of symmetry, of congruence of thought that was quite powerful. I don't know if you know, we have choirs coming from all over the area to be a part of this piece.
No,
So
I didn't.
we have over 50 singers, and most especially, we have the Uvalde concert choir coming up, where they had lost 17 children.
Oh gosh!
And two teachers, and their director Karen McCarty and the singers are coming to sing your piece on this concert. And that's almost 2 years to the date of the tragedy on May 24th of 2022, that happened. So they will be singing all that, and our audience is joining with everybody. Everybody who comes to our concert will be singing their words. There are halls above where stars are born, reborn and born again by faith, by love, by God. I know this is not the end. And they'll be repeating that phrase in the middle of the piece and lighting candles in memory of those that they have lost in the past, including yours truly. Will be lighting a candle for my father and mother. So I have to believe this will be a most moving and cathartic experience for everyone involved. I can't thank you for inspiring us all to take all of this in. Well, could I don't know if this is possible, but can you whet our appetite with just a little bit of the piece? Do you have it just in your fingers there, or?
This is just a little intro coming out of the sacred veil. And then the melody comes into this, shadows long for light. Silence craves music. The willow waits for rain. As this heart looks for you. Then you are gone. You are home. You are here. So the refrain continues to go. And that's the basic melody, the refrain. The middle section, there are halls above where stars are born, reborn, and born again. That's a little bit more of a gospel flair. So that chord progression keeps looping, and it grows from a single voice to then I think 2, and then eventually a full chorus SATB voice, and then that's the part that the audience is invited to sing along with. So I really do hope that'll be a powerful moment when you've got all of those voices, those sounds washing over the listener, the choir, echoing, sort of symbolizing echoing in the halls above, where and here as well, where life is still happening.
Well, I know you're both out being famous on that first week in May. Wish we could have you join us in person, but we're just so delighted that you're able to join us today and able to share a little bit of this incredible piece. again, the pieces you are here, it'll be concluding our concert. Our first piece, I just wanted to share with everyone the words that were set partly by Josquin himself. And this is where the whole concert gets very personal. He had just lost his most beloved teacher, and he writes, "Don your clothes of mourning, Josquin, Pederson, Brumel, Compère, and weep great tears from your eyes, for you have lost your good father. May he rest in peace." And that piece is then followed by the monumental work by Whitaker, I think his best work ever, with the words of his poet, Charles Silvestri. From the first movement, it says, "Whenever there is birth or death, the sacred veil between the worlds rose thin and openly slide up, just long enough for love to slip, silent either in or out. Our loved ones stand so close right here, just on the other side of eternity." So we're hoping to have this concert transcend the mere few minutes that we'll be together, but to allow us to express something that will last a great deal of time for everyone involved. So I can't thank you so very, very much for your offering on this behalf.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. And Brian, thank you for such a beautiful text.
Yeah, it's just been a joy as ever. And Rick, we wish you, and especially your singers and that audience, the very best with this music and the whole experience. It's going to be a very tender and I hope ultimately uplifting moment.
Thank you so much.